Alright, what's going on, Forgotten Nation? I'm your host, DefG, and today we're playing Alex Kidd The Lost Stars. Now, many would consider this to be the black sheep of the series, and for good reason, because this is a direct sequel to Miracle World, and the gameplay is very much different from that game. The reason for that is because The Lost Stars was made as an arcade game, but many will know it better for the Master System port. And the one iconic thing that stuck around because of that is the scream that we hear every time you lose a life in the game. But anyways, this was released in 1986 for arcades, but came out a year later for the Master System. And as mentioned before, this is indeed a direct sequel to Miracle World. And when it came around to porting this for the Master System, they tried to give it a bit of a story to really incorporate it as a sequel. And the gist of it is that the Zodiac signs have gone missing. A demon known as Ziggurat has stolen them, and now it's up to Alex Kidd to retrieve them. Now, here in the arcade version, we do have a second player, and we will be getting to that later. But for now, we are going to go straight into the game, but always remember,
the customer is king.
The customer is king. And I will be warning you guys, this game is a gauntlet, so this is going to take a lot of quarters to get through. So for that in mind, usually in my videos when we play arcade games, I use the quarter up method, where every time I insert a credit, I will say quarter up. So when it comes to the end of the video, you can count how many times I've inserted a quarter into the game. But let's just say right now, we're going to be way past 100 by the time this is over. That's how hard this game is. This is basically Dark Souls of the arcade. And for a more recent example, let's say Ghosts and Goblins. But anywho, let's get into the game.
Find the miracle ball.
You're going to be hearing that voice a lot between stages. Always remember to find the miracle ball. But anyways, this is the game itself. So the idea here is you have to get to the end of the stage, represented by the yellow bar on the bottom, and you have to avoid all the enemies. This is a lot like Contra, where one hit and you're already dead. If this is the Master System, you'd have infinite lives, but every death would count towards the timer that you see in the bottom left there. But I do like the arcade version better for having a proper life system, because it's not that the time is a problem, it's more the fact that you're gonna die a lot. But having the live system does make it feel like an actual game, especially when Miracle World did have the live system as opposed to the timer. But anyways, this is the first world, this is Toy World, and the first constellation we're trying to get back is Ares. So the idea here is everything's pretty happy-go-lucky. We have some happy colored blocks, we got these cards, we're seeing some inanimate objects coming to life, we have some happy little chicks. It's looking pretty happy right now. Music's upbeat, and we have these, I would call it yet a monorail. And we are, see, right there, that's already the first life of the game. And we're entering our name right now. This may be the only time, because as you continue forward, the score resets. And to get the high score is going to be pretty hard. But the first world, pretty innocent. A little, it's a little hard, but it is the first world. But everything's super happy. If anything, I don't know if this really does feel like Miracle World. Not just the stage, but the game itself, I can see what people mean, because this is pretty drastic as opposed to Miracle World. A lot of the things that you saw in Miracle World, they don't really exist here. So if you were to wipe out Miracle World as a whole, this is basically a game series of its own. All you gotta do is replace Alex Kidd. So I do wonder what they were thinking to put Alex Kidd as the main character of the game. Could have been because Miracle World was so popular, they thought that putting him in the game would have attracted a bigger audience? Or was it because they felt that maybe he was new to the gaming world, that no one would think so highly of the landscapes, the enemies, and all that? I don't really know, but for what it is, I can't complain too much. But a lot of people do hate this game because it is so much different from Miracle World. And Miracle World is a pretty good platformer. But the one thing I hold against this game is that it's pretty unfair when it comes to enemies and the difficulty. But anyways, we've reached the end of the first world. All we gotta do is reach the present, and we got the first miracle ball. And we're already off to the next world. And for those that don't know this, that is Opa Opa. This is a reference to the Fantasy Zone series. And the second world is called the Machine World, and we are going for Taurus this time. And this is when the difficulty becomes pretty noticeable. So we have these moving platforms that move us to the right, and we have these arms that are poking us, we got some enemy robots. This game is hard. The idea is to play this game, you have to take your time and really plan out your jumps and really wait for the right moment. The problem with that is the countdown going on, and the fact that this is an arcade game. When you're in an arcade, you kind of want things to be fast-paced and really to the point. But here, a game that they want you to take your time, it's a little unheard of. Name. Because I think arcades, some pretty fast-paced games, such as Street Fighter, or even some of the other ones like Pac-Man, Galaga, Dig Dug. It's not to say that they're all fast-paced, but they're definitely faster in having to wait for the right moment to move forward. Which I do give props to, because this is a bit different. You never really think of a game like this in an arcade, but it is such a drastic difference in gameplay. But anyways, moving forward, now we have these moving pistons, so we gotta plan out when to jump. Not too bad. There we go. And you'll notice that as we continue through the stage, we are grabbing power-ups, we're grabbing some good stuff. And what these are is, one of them's a speed boost, one of them makes you jump higher, and then there's one that allows us to shoot enemies. There's two versions of it. There's the first version, and there's the second version. The first version is basically a shot of its own. You shoot it, it hits an enemy. But the second one is much more powerful, as it has the ability to pass through multiple enemies. But the problem is, it wears off faster than the first one. So you have to really take good use of it before it disappears. If this were the Master System version, they changed it so that you would be able to use a certain amount of shots as opposed to it disappearing over a short amount of time. Which I do like in the Master System version, because it's kind of hard to tell in this version when it's going to expire. From the most I could tell, it tends to last between 10 and 15 seconds. But we did just pass up that jump ability. Wasn't too bad though. Okay, so we're reaching the end of the stage. And that's speed boost. Okay. Moving forward. Overall though, this version, because we die so much, the time is a bit on the generous side. Okay, there's Opa Opa. And we got the Miracle Ball. Alright. We're reaching about the middle point of the game. Even though there's 12, like I mentioned before, you do have to play through this again. So we're about halfway through the levels, and this is roughly when it becomes harder. The enemies are becoming much more cheap, and you really do have to plan out when you want to move forward. And this is when things start to get a little weird. This world as a whole makes me wonder what they were thinking. Because I don't know if this exactly feels like Alex Kidd. But anyways, I forgot to mention, this is the third world. This is the world of make-believe. And we are going for the constellation Gemini. Come on. So we have these moving vine platforms. They're harder than the pistons, but there we go. So yeah, everything in this world is kind of weird, but nothing can prepare you for this next enemy. Yeah, you're seeing it. This is a naked dude shaking his ass, spawning these skeletons. What were they thinking with this game? Oh my, why? I don't get it. And that still exists in the Master System version. They didn't censor it, they kept it just as it is. And you gotta wonder why someone thought that was a good idea to have in an Alex Kidd game. How weird could this get? And you can see the difficulties just... moving forward. So yes, the world of make-believe. We have some really zany enemies. Definitely a departure from Miracle World. And even after the Lost World, I don't think we'd ever see anything as weird as this in an Alex Kidd game. So in some ways, it's kind of a good thing. Because the world was not prepared for that enemy. Okay, wait for the right moment, and go. Ah! See, part of the game is me dying a lot because it's hard, but the other part is because I tend to rush through it. Like I said, an arcade game isn't one that I really want to take my time with. It's a game... Arcade games are made to be fast-paced, and the point of that is to draw more people in and to spend more quarters. If there's one thing this game's doing right, it's definitely spending more quarters. But the pace of it is pretty slow. But moving forward, we have some goblins with pitchforks. There we go. Ah! Come on, game. No, oh, come on! Okay, wait for it. And go. There we go. If I'm not saying much right now, it's because I'm trying to focus, because we are almost done with the stage. And here we are with the boss of the stage. We have these green goblins, but of course... There we go. Got the Miracle Ball. Okay, now we come to my least favorite stage of the game, and for good reason. This is the Water World, and the constellation we're going for now is Cancer. And I think that suits the stage well, because... the stage is Cancer. Like many games in the past, the one most nefarious thing every gamer hates is a water world. And this one is just as bad. The reason? The controls. So, to play this, you have to hold up in order to move up, but then you have to go right to move right. Yeah, that's any game. But the problem is, it's so slow to move. I can stop right now, and I'm gonna hold right now and see how fast he starts taking off. That's pretty slow. So in a game where you're trying to dodge these fast-paced enemies, but you can barely move right, what were they thinking? So basically this entire stage is just a kill fest. Because of how slow you move to the right, it becomes pretty hard to dodge these enemies. And the fact is, you have to play this game a second time with even harder enemies is only going to make this worse. So you'll be lucky if you can find the shot and the speed boost. Like I am right now, this is actually pretty lucky. But once that all disappears, have fun with these enemies. So wait for it. Ah, jeez. Wait for it, and go. The only thing I can think to say is try to plan in advance when to move. As soon as the enemy starts attacking, maybe then try to move to the right. But the problem is, it's just these floaty controls in this section. There's no denying you will die a lot. And the fact that this game is practically 25 cents for 3 lives, you're spending a lot of money for 3 lives just to lose them in a matter of a minute. Come on, make me go up. There we go. And wait for it. Go now. Oh, no. Ah, so slow. Alright, so now watch out for the anchors. Careful now. Careful. And let's try going... Not yet. Now. Kind of a little faster. There we go. There we go. I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually doing a lot better than I did my first playthrough. Because this was painful the first time I tried this. But see, it's moments like these that you have no choice but to take your time. It's one thing that you have plenty of time, but if you wait too long, then time does become a problem. And you might as well just lose your life and start at the 90 seconds again, as opposed to waiting. So, get the speed boost. Ah! Alright. We're 3/4 away down with the stage. And that disappeared before I could even grab it. Bonefish equals evil fish. So, keep moving forward. It's always the bonefish. Keep going, keep going. Too slow. Okay, we got another tight section. Watch out for the enemy. Okay, just keep going forward. Come on, come on, come on, a little faster, a little faster! Okay, speed boost, that'll come in handy. Not much with the controls, though. Okay, we're reaching the end, and now we got these jellyfish enemies. You just gotta watch out for their tentacles. Sometimes the best way to go is above them, but... yeah, there we go. Speed boost, that's definitely helping. And lost to this guy. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I just genuinely do not like the stage or the controls. Now we gotta watch out for this cheeky little guy. Okay, there we go. See, if you have the patience with this game and you really wait it out, I'm sure you could probably get through it just fine and find some enjoyment out of it. But to really speed through it like I am and spend all these lives is probably not the best way to play it. But even the original Alex Kidd in Miracle World was a faster paced game than this. It's not to say I don't like this game, because there is parts of this game I do like, especially when it comes to the first few stages. But it's the later stages that, when it becomes so hard, is when you kind of wonder if there's really anything good in this game to begin with. But we got the Miracle Ball, alright. So our next stage is Monster World. And the constellation we're going for is Leo. And we're gonna see some dinosaurs now. Come on, game. Okay, fat birds. But yes, the theme of this being dinosaurs actually seems alright. I kind of like the idea of it. But the enemies do feel like they're just rehashes of stuff we've seen earlier, especially Toy World. Especially that one enemy before that you saw him with the letters. That's definitely Toy World. Okay, wait for it. Go now. But now we're back in this, the controls definitely feel better now. What the? No, what? Keep going up. Come on! All the way past it. Okay, watch out for the arms. There we go. Press. Okay, keep moving forward. Oh, come on! I was in the middle of it. Speed boost, awesome. There we go. And now we got the key. Another quarter. I wanted that second key. Okay. Never mind, that's what I get for cracking my fingers. This is totally Indiana Jones. What? Why? Why? Okay, let's just grab the balloon and continue forward. If there's one thing that made the Miracle World popular, it was definitely all the vehicles you control in the game. In this game, there's really only two kinds of vehicles. There's the underwater stage, and there's that balloon. Nothing else. And for that reason, I can see why people do not like Lost World. There's really not too much that Hello. Scary thing. There really isn't too much similar to Miracle World that could set this apart as a sequel. And that is pretty disappointing on its own. I would have liked to see more incorporated from Miracle World into this game. Now, I'm sorry if this playthrough just seems like a rant that's not Miracle World. But you gotta understand, this game was meant to be a sequel. It's one thing it was made for arcades, but then to port it to Master System and really define it as a direct sequel is disappointing to many fans. But there we go, we got the Miracle Ball. Alright, so up next we have the Giant's Body, and the constellation this time is Virgo. But this is probably one of the hardest stages in the game if you're not counting Waterworld with its controls. So we are going to see a lot of enemies and a lot of placement that kind of gets in the way. Wonder how many quarters I spent already. I do like these sets here, though. You see, like, intestines in the background. I should not have been crushed there. We have, like, these moving platforms that look like teeth. And even some of these enemies. And later on, we're going to see white blood cells and whatnot. So I do give props to the theme here, because it does feel like a stomach. Okay, just let me in on here. What the hell, game? There we go. Now wait for it. There we go. Nope. Another coin. Now this far in, you really gotta watch your coin count, because if you fail to insert a coin before the time runs out, then you gotta start the game from the beginning. But luckily, they do give you a decent amount of time to insert the next quarter. But for those that maybe push the wrong buttons, or just fail to put the quarter in right, I guess, that could be pretty asinine to a point where you want to scream. Because we're pretty far in now, and to really lose your progress, weird heads would really suck. So careful now. Now here's the thing, we're inside a stomach, but there is like these mechanical parts connected to the intestines here. This is pretty weird for a monster's stomach. But the real question is, how do we get in the stomach to begin with? Okay, so now we're like in the stomach region, so we have dissolving food. No! So wait for it. Ah! There we go. Okay, so now we have the white blood cells, so we gotta watch them. Careful now. Again with these yellow heads. I don't get, why is there heads in a stomach? What? Okay, careful now. Okay, here's my favorite part of the stage. We have this moving platform. And as we're moving, we're going to see some enemy placement. But it's not too hard to dodge. If anything, it's actually pretty easy. So if anything, it creates like a trippy look as we're moving forward. It's actually kind of fun to watch. Here we go again. Pretty cool stuff. And if anything, this is probably the easiest part of the game, because I was just holding right the entire time. But we're at the end of the stage, and this is probably one of the hardest bosses, because there's a lot of enemy placement here, and you really gotta figure out when's the right opening. And assuming to this point that you've gotten used to the controls, because you're really gonna need to know when to jump accordingly. And if you lose a life, you're gonna spawn back over there. You might be able to... Yeah, just like that. But anyways, we're at the final stage. Listen.
Carry the ball to the Holy Land Gigabot.
Welcome to space. So we've reached the final stage of the game, and the idea is to get to the end and reach the Shrine of Ziggurat. Now, if you're playing the Master System version, as related to the story earlier, Ziggurat is a real enemy in the game, and he is this fire demon. But, because this is the arcade version, Ziggurat wasn't really made yet, because they never really incorporated a real plot into the arcade version besides recovering the constellations of the Eerie Sky. So Ziggurat's not in this version of the game. So once you get to the end, it's just a smooth walk right into the shrine. So the most we can say here is that Ziggurat is a place, and you're going to find everything here in space, including this guy. And this is the only stage where your jumps are floaty, so you do have to plan accordingly when it comes to jumping. Not like that. See, if you've gotten used to the game at this point, this is actually not too bad. You just gotta know when to jump over the enemies, when to move forward, and it's not too bad. It's just that I'm a little bad at this game. And I do like the aesthetic here, the fact that everything's in space. So keep moving forward. And you're gonna see enemies from basically every world. So careful now. Okay, here we go. Nah. Come on. We're halfway through the end of the first playthrough. And now we got these sweet penguins. And goodbye, penguins. Okay, watch out for the birds. There we go. And now for the last part of the stage, we have these fire traps. It's the ones that go up and down are the most painful, but the ones left and right, as long as you're watching where you're standing, it's not too bad. It's definitely the ones going up and down that are more a pain in the ass. Ah. Come on, we can do it. No, no, no! Okay, careful now. Ah, come on, we're almost done. No, come on. Come on, penguin. Oh, jeez. Okay. Ah. What? Okay, wait for it, and go. Okay, we reached the end. We've reached the Shrine of Ziggurat. And this is where you'd fight Ziggurat if this were the Master System version, but let's just go right in and finish the game. There we go. Alright, that's the first set of the Miracle Balls. And we've restored the constellations of Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo. And now we're on the next set of the Miracle Balls. And essentially, this is where we have to play the game all over again. But this time, with even harder enemies. And so, rather than play this again, we're going to lose all our lives right now. Don't worry, this is with good intention. And even after all that, even dying a lot, we're not even halfway to breaking that high score. That's a pretty high score. But we do get to enter our name, so we're going to enter it real fast. There we go. But now we are going to switch to the second character of the game. And this is an original character for the Alex Kidd series. This is Stella. And this is the only game she appears in. And she doesn't even appear in the Master System version either. So, completely original, made just for the Lost Stars for the arcade. And not to be confused with Alex Kidd's girlfriend that we find out later in... I forget the name of the game, but I know it was a tie-in with the Shinobi series. This is a completely different character. And we really don't know much about Stella. She's really just here to be here. Which is a shame, because I would kind of like to know a little more backstory on the character. Why is she helping Alex Kidd retrieve the Miracle Balls? So I do wonder. But anyway, so this is Toy World again. We have some more enemy placements. It's essentially harder now because of all the enemies. They're moving faster. There's definitely a lot more of them. And we have to replay the game over again to retrieve the next set of Miracle Balls. So this next one we're going for is Scorpio. And if you thought it was hard already, yeah, it's just gotten harder. And so as I mentioned before, we are going to be playing this next set as Stella. But it's definitely costing a lot of quarters. So let's just move forward. Although for those watching, this is essentially the end of the game, because after this next set, there's really no bonus for completing the game. The most you'll get to see is the end, but there's like no congratulatory message or anything. Even the Master System version, the game just ends. So the payoff is kind of low for going through the game all over again. But we are going to do it anyways, because that is part of completing the Lost Stars. Beating it a second time. At a much harder difficulty. So careful now. Oh, come on. Okay, moving forward. There we go. Ah. Come on, game. Ah! Oh, and between the characters, there is no difference in the control scheme. I know, like, if you're playing Mario, Luigi jumps higher and he's got, like, a bit of a slippier feel on the stages. No, Alex Kidd and Stella play exactly the same. But do remember that we are playing at a hard difficulty now. Meh. Dang it, game. Alright, keep moving forward. Ooh, speed boost. There we go. Okay, reach the end of the stage. Ah! I do wish this game, instead of the one-hit kill, maybe would have had like a multi-hit system. So say like, after 2 or 3 hits based on the game settings, then you lose a life. I feel like that would have been a bit more fair. And then you got the Master System version where every time you get hit, it takes away time off the counter. Not a bad thing per se, but in that game, that's when the time really does matter. And that's when you are kind of rushing through it. So that payoff, in contrast to, it's just not as good. I'd rather have the live system than have my lives deduct time. Because here, you die so much the time doesn't matter. And you're basically already trying to get through the game itself. So to have your lives take away from the time, that is a problem. And for that reason, I think the Master System is a little harder because of the way they incorporate the live system. It's more convenient because you're playing alone, but... Oh, come on! The time really does matter in that version. Okay, wait for her there. Oh, no! Careful now. Now, if I were playing with another person that'd be controlling Alex Kidd, there's really... You are working together, but you can also kill each other too, because you're able to jump on top of Alex Kidd or Stella, and essentially kind of just, well, you could carry them all the way through the game, but it wouldn't be easy. So it's up to you whether you'd want to play competitive or together. But if you're playing together, I think it's harder with 2 players. So watch out for this guy. He kind of looks like a Galaxian from the game Galaga. So there we... Another thing I do wish... This wasn't in Miracle World, but I do wish our character could duck. That'd be much more helpful when it comes to enemies like this. So, careful now. There we go. And we got the jump boost. There we go. Snakes! Alright, we're almost close to Opa Opa. See, the thing is, I never really played much of the Fantasy Zone series. People say it's good, but the most I've ever tried was part of Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection. I never really got very far in it, so I never really took a liking to the game. But people do say it's good. It's one of the good shooting games of the time. And it was enough to consider Opa Opa a mascot of Sega, along with Alex Kidd. But, personally, I never really seen much into the Fantasy Zone series. But we did get the second Miracle Ball. I didn't mention this, but that second one was Sagittarius. And now we're going for Capricorn. In this level again. The most painful enemy of the stage is definitely the skulls that creep up and down the stage, because you have to remember where they are when it comes to dodging them. Careful now. Because that's all this game is. It's about dodging enemies. And the fact that you're trying to move to the right only furthers the fact that you will die a lot, because it's not easy to dodge these enemies, especially when you're going against the clock trying to progress to the right. So essentially, dying is a better payoff than having to sit through and let the time drain down. Because every time you die, it goes back to 90 seconds, time doesn't become a problem. And whereas you're trying to wait to dodge the enemies, these are some really painful enemies to try to dodge. Hello, you again. Then we got these guys, they kind of look like brains. Careful now. See, it is easy to detect patterns with some of these enemies, but others, they do feel pretty cheap when it comes to killing you time after time. Meh. Careful now. There we go. Okay, back to the high area. Ah. Okay, that's gonna... What the... What?! That is not fair! He just spawned into a different area. Why is he at the begin with? I don't even know. So, wait for it. There we go. Meh. Keep up. I jumped! Okay, keep moving forward. And I wasn't paying attention to the pitchforks. Wait for it. Go. There we go. Careful now. Ah. Come on, game. So as I did mention earlier, I do prefer this arcade version over the Master System version, but if I'm really being honest, I don't think the Master System's that bad, but if you really want to enjoy the game proper, I think the arcade version's the way to go. Just because the graphics are made for the arcade version, whereas opposed to the 8-bit version doesn't really look that good in comparison. Plus, with the live system over the timer system, I do feel is a bit more generous, especially because if you're gonna die a lot, it definitely does make the game a little bit easier that you don't have to worry about the time. But the Master System is faithful to the arcade version in many of the aspects. And it does add that final boss at the end of Ziggurat. So it does have a bit of a proper payoff with the story they created in mind. But I do think that the arcade version is the far better version to play. The problem is, the arcade version is very hard to come by. There's not many arcades that have access to it, and there hasn't been a proper port yet. Whereas the Master System version, as mentioned earlier, has been ported several times. So if you're gonna play Lost Stars, you're more likely to find the Master System than the arcade version. So the only poor choice is to emulate it. Which is a real shame, because a game like this I feel like would be fun to play. And there's one arcade game that I've seen ported many a times. It's Altered Beast. And one of the ways I played the arcade version of Altered Beast was Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection. I feel like that would have been a good time to port over the Lost Stars arcade. Even though this is a Master System game, not a Sega Genesis game, I do think that this would have been a good inclusion to have for Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection. I feel like being one of the unlockables could have had a payoff, especially if you're gonna play the Enchanted Castle. I don't like the Enchanted Castle. I get they were trying to go for a Miracle World feel, but something about it just doesn't feel like Miracle World. And I don't mean from the aspect that it's 16-bit. And even the music, to a point, they tried recreating the theme of Miracle World, and I think Miracle World does a way better version of its theme. There's just something about the Enchanted Castle I don't like. If there's one thing I remember, though, it's definitely Jenkin Po. And that was one of the things I remember, I think, is in Miracle World 2. But they definitely had more of it in the Enchanted Castle. So, careful now, and let's go. There we go. I don't know, something about Enchanted Castle just doesn't feel right to me. I do give props for trying to be faithful to Miracle World, and it does feel more of a sequel than The Lost Stars. But something about its gameplay just doesn't seem right. Maybe I'll do a playthrough of it sometime, but I'd rather play Miracle World. And that's another thing too, I actually never have beaten Miracle World. Heck, I'm lucky if I can even get past the first stage sometimes, because Miracle World is actually a pretty hard game. Careful now, and... oh, there we go! Because Miracle World, it's not that the controls, because they do say the controls are floaty, and I can definitely feel it compared to games like Mario, but the levels themselves are pretty difficult. And just like Mario, it does have that one-hit kill system, and just like this too. So, you really do need to take your time, even with Miracle World, to get through it. But it does feel like when you're playing it that it's your fault when you die in Miracle World. Whereas this, it just feels like every time I die, it's just a cheap, very cheap feel of the game. That the way that's being played, there's no way to avoid it. Which, that one I didn't go into, still. There we go. In some ways, it is a shame that Alex Kidd didn't go anywhere following his Sega Genesis game. Because even after Enchanted Castle, I think there was still 2 more games that were made for the Master System following. I know definitely the last game was that crossover with the Shinobi series. But after that, Alex Kidd just disappeared, and was neglected to cameos in other games like Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, as well as some of the other ones too. It's a shame too, because Alex Kidd as a character didn't seem too bad, but he definitely wasn't going to save Sega with the competition of Super Mario. With that in mind, we have Sonic the Hedgehog. Even if Sonic Forces was a mistake, we can at least appreciate that Sonic is still here with us in the modern day of gaming. And yes, that's a real thing. At the time of recording this, Sonic Forces did come out, and that was painful to play. Very painful. I'd rather go back to Generations or Colors. The gameplay was linear, the stages were short, and even the physics of it felt wrong, especially with Classic Sonic. Classic Sonic had nothing to do with Sonic Forces, but they still put him in the game. And some of those themes of Classic Sonic, some of them were good. I like Casino Forest, Ghost Town was alright. But then you have stuff like Green Hill Zone was kind of like an ear bleed. And that's a shame to say, because I'm a fan of the Sonic series, but everything about Forces feels wrong. And when you really think about it, well, I mean, I guess Bayonetta kind of counts, because Sega did help publish that. There aren't many Sega games, really, that they make. It seems like Sonic's really their only staple franchise still. Stuff like Jet Set Radio, Space Station 5, Even stuff like Crazy Taxi, you really don't see much of no more. But we reached the end of the stage. If there's one old Sega game I want to see come back in like some like reboot or remake, it's Rystar. I want to see another Rystar game. Because I enjoyed that. I would love to see another Rystar. But I'm getting off track. We're playing Alex Kidd here. So, careful now. We have more letters. Watch out for the birds. Ah. There we go. But yes, I really do wonder how many quarters I spent. Because in my first playthrough, I had spent over 150 quarters. And I wouldn't call that an accomplishment, because that's a lot of quarters. If you do the math, 150 times 0.25, every 4 is roughly $1. Let's see, $1, $2, $3. About $5 worth is 20. So I should focus on the game. I'm gonna try to use my head real fast, so if I'm quiet for a second. I would say that's somewhere around the $10 mark. Somewhere around there. Maybe a little lower, maybe a little higher. But that's already a good amount. $10 just to get through a game. Possibly more. Then again, maybe my math could be completely wrong. I could be maybe the $15 or even $20 mark. That's the price of like a indie game on Steam. Ah, I really wanted that key. Okay, second chance with Indiana Jones. We can do this. Just wait for these guys. Is that all of them? Okay. Let's do it. Oh, come on, I jumped! Damn it, game. Well, there goes the boulder. And my life. Okay, grab the balloon. And this time Stella gets the blue balloon. Because she's wearing blue. Meh. Okay, I remember this. Ah! See, I know this is 1986, but somehow that dinosaur just feels creepy. Ah. Okay, keep moving forward. We're reaching the end of the stage. There we go. Okay. Oh, dang it, I keep forgetting to mention. So, back in the water world, the constellation we went for was Aquarius. That last stage, Monster World, we got Pisces. Pisces? I think it's the one about the fish. And this time we're going for Libra. This is the last Miracle Ball and the last constellation. Sorry about that, guys. You get so focused on the gameplay, you forget about the footnotes. And some final things worth mentioning about the Master System game is that when it came to the story, there were some other details I left out. The story also mentions one of Alex Kidd's ancestors. I don't have the name on me in the footnotes. But over 500 years ago, that's when he originally stopped Ziggurat with the constellations. So 500 years later, my bad. Now Ziggurat has returned and stole the Aries Sky constellations. And then, when it comes to going to each world, Alex Kidd is entering through a door with the help of a wizard. I believe his name was Deletta the wizard. And he's the one that tells Alex about the story of his ancestor and how 500 years ago, Ziggurat stole the Aries stars. But this one trap is really getting to me. Oh, come on! What? Wait for it. So from a story stance, I guess it makes sense how he's in all these different worlds, but it still doesn't feel like Alex Kidd. Ah! Okay, okay, okay. There we go! Okay, wait for this. There we go. And go. So you can try it with the Master System, that they really did try to really bring the story together, so it kind of felt like Alex Kidd, but you really can't change too much because the game itself doesn't feel like it fits in with the Alex Kidd universe. The enemies, the locations, I don't know. It may be just me rambling, but something about it. Ah, come on, game, we're not even halfway through the stage yet. Meh. Okay, progress slowly. Okay, we're in the stomach with the digestion again. Whatever it is this monster's eating, it definitely dissolves away fast. I do wonder what it is. Ah. Careful now. There we go. Ah, rolling yellow heads. Careful now. Okay, I wonder if I can still hold it right and I'll still dodge all these enemies. Yep. Ooh, time. Definitely needed that. Okay, holding it right. Keep going, keep going. Untouchable. Okay, here we go. Final part of the stage. Come on, game. Oh, ah! Okay, invincibility, invincibility, and there we go! Got the last miracle ball. We got Libera, and now it's back to the Shrine of Ziggurat.
Carry the ball to the Holy Land Jigla.
If there's one thing I like about this game, it's definitely the narrator. Find the miracle ball. Take the miracle balls to the Holy Land of Ziggurat. That's definitely something that's gonna stick in my head from this game. Then, every time we die, the screams that these characters make. Meh. End of the day though, unless you really enjoyed playing this game, it's kinda forgettable. It's not like Miracle World or any other Alex Kidd games that they kinda leave a mark on you in your brain. It's either you like it, you'll remember it. If you didn't, then it's just another one of those arcade games. For me, there is enjoyment that comes out of this game, but like I said, the high difficulty of it, and the fact that parts of it really don't stick well with the Alex Kidd series, is parts of the reason that I don't really favor the game, because I wouldn't call this one of my favorites. I would call it a good hour distraction at most. Careful now. Because if you're going to play The Lost Stars, I think it's definitely worth checking out, but there's always going to be that point of whether you like it or you don't. And that's just really based on the player. There are some people that will enjoy this game, but then there's going to be those that think that there's definitely better games that can be played. And in some ways, that is true, because the reason that this hasn't been really ported yet is because, number one, not many know of this game. Number two, it's definitely the black sheep of the Alex Kidd series. In many ways. But, careful now. And I like to think, this may be just my thinking, but the third reason is probably the difficulty of the game too. This game is very hard. So for people to want to play it, the difficulty might turn them away from the game. And that makes me wonder how the Master System did way back when with sales. Whether it did good or not so much. Because the reviews are definitely mixed. Okay, now we're back at the fire. There we go. Doing better this time. Definitely better. Okay, we're reaching the end of the game. Okay, hopefully this may be my last quarter. Nope, nope. Ah. The one time the penguins killed me. What?! Okay, we've reached the end. That's the end of the game. And now we enter the Palace of Ziggurat. Or the shrine, that is. And that's the end of the game. We've reached the end. Now we've restored all the constellations of the airy sky, and all the zodiac signs are back where they should be. This time we saved Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and Libra. And with that in mind, not only did we restore the Miracle Balls, but we've also beaten Alex Kidd the Lost Stars. And I may look back at this to see just how many quarters I would have used, because that was a lot of quarters. But, as you saw, it's really the same thing, and this is all you get for beating the game. The end. And now we're back at the title screen. So the payoff at the end is pretty sad, because to go through the game a second time at a drastically bigger difficulty, because there was a lot more enemies, and it was definitely harder, that's kind of a sad payoff. I was expecting way more at the end. So that is a bit of a shame. But that is the end of the game. If you guys liked what you saw, leave a comment below, and let me know what you guys think of the game, because for me it's a mixed bag. It's alright, but it could have been better. And I know many people will definitely think that this isn't very good as opposed to other games in the series, especially Miracle World. But everyone's entitled to their opinions and what they think of a game. I think it's worth trying out if you want to see, but it may not leave everyone with a good impression. So I think that does it for today's playthrough of The Lost Stars. Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Alright, later, everyone.